Today, I will be discussing two of the global warming PSAs that we close read in class. I will be summarizing the United Nations Code Red and the Royal Society's Basics of Climate Change. These are two PSAs which are, in my opinion, very effective, despite having very different goals. This will be one of my main points of discussion for my summaries. In theory, these are two videos that discuss the same topic, climate change. However, one video is focused on taking responsibility and acting now, whereas the other is focused solely on educating. I am hoping to make these distinctions by exploring my personal opinions on the methods used in both of these PSAs. The United Nations released a report in August of 2021 which reported a code red for humanity. This video was a form of media used to make the public aware of these findings. We are told that they have officially concluded that climate change is a man-made issue caused by greenhouse gas emissions. The purpose of this video is not to educate or introduce the concept of climate change. We are beyond the need for education on what it is at this point. This video was made to let people know what is coming from the things that we already knew about climate change. It is easy to tell what sort of tone that the United Nations intended to set with this video. From doing a close read, there are many signs that indicate a purposeful intensity. The music creates a sense of panic and urgency within the audience, and they have also included plenty of clips from the third world and how climate change has affected them. They provide viewers with a good variety of experts who describe their predictions of the world in this state of crisis. As you can see in the photo that I've included, this is one of the first screenshots from the video in which they show a dead animal. I believe that this is to induce the shock value and really make people understand how severe this issue truly is becoming. An interesting point that is made in this video comes from Inger Anderson, who mentions that the world has listened to experts' warnings regarding climate change, but they have not heard it. Again, this shows that all of the experts included in this video are in complete agreement that global warming is an entirely man-made crisis. Dr. Panmao Jai, another expert, says that it is unequivocal that human influence has warmed the atmosphere, oceans, and the land. Behind him is an assessment report done by the IPCC, otherwise known as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, showing how the emissions of greenhouse gases have affected the planet's temperature. The main goal of this public service announcement was to install a sense of responsibility in the viewers. We, as humans, are the root of the issue. I don't necessarily see this as the United Nations wanting to pin blame, but they want people to accept that this is a problem that we have caused and we need to begin reversing it before it is too late. The video ends with a shot of a healthy blade of grass growing from the damaged earth, indicating the hopefulness that we can still reverse the damage that has been done. So, what do I think about all of this? Well, I absolutely agree with the main message of this media. This is a raw, realistic take on what is truly happening in our world. It shows viewers like myself that climate change has begun to take our planet, despite us not seeing it in our own backyard. I truly believe that climate change is a crisis and that must be taken seriously. There are far too many people who feel as though they need to be convinced, and one watch of this video should be all of the convincing that they need. An excellent resource that I found through my own research regarding climate change in the third world was from the Government of Canada. It makes me overjoyed to see that our country has taken part in combating global warming, especially in the parts of the world who are experiencing it to a much higher degree than we are. As of April 2019, Canada was able to distribute $2.65 billion to vulnerable countries. Overall, I believe that this is an effective method of spreading the word regarding the global climate crisis. I appreciate that this is not your average PSA regarding the rising temperatures. It is truly about more than knowing the basics of climate change. Now is the time for us to learn the telltale signs of when and how the climate crisis will be meeting us at our front door. The Royal Society's public service announcement entitled Climate Change in 60 Seconds is included in their introductory article to the concept of global warming entitled The Basics of Climate Change. This is a short, straight to the point video that is brought to us through the medium of animation. I would also like to point out that, unlike the UN's video, the soundtrack is not nearly as daunting. It is an upbeat but forgettable background track that does not seem to serve much of a purpose in regards to how the individual watching perceives the video. The video begins with a short explanation of the greenhouse effect. The narrator explains that increased amounts of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere have made the Earth's temperatures rise. These gases re release heat once in the atmosphere, which becomes trapped, and this is what causes the Earth to become increasingly warmer. The Royal Society has used animated graphs that not only show data, but are able to show the literal rising of the atmosphere's CO2 levels. There are several other graphics included that show the warming of oceans, the melting of ice, among other things. The video ends on an animation of the Earth surrounded by a glowing red orb. The narrator explains that we can expect to see a significant increase in temperatures by the end of this century, and that this will cause extreme detriment to the human life as we know it. I really enjoy the medium of animation for public service announcements. I believe that it is an effective way to make serious topics easier to digest. The technique of providing the basics in 60 seconds is a great way to grab the attention of viewers who are looking to learn more about climate change. I can imagine that most media consumers would opt for the shorter, more concise video rather than a 10-minute long, in depth explanation. I am on the fence, however, about how I feel regarding the tone of this video. It has an overall feel of being quite casual and purely informative, rather than urgent. The audience only gets a small glimmer of any sense of urgency at the very end of the PSA when the narrator discusses the potential future of climate change. I think that both public service announcements were well made in their own respective ways. However, I do believe that one is more effective awareness wise rather than the other. The United Nations created a video that was not only educational, but extremely specific about the consequences that we are going to experience. They provided numerous quotes from different climate change experts and purposefully made the video a bit unnerving with clips from the vulnerable countries who have already been seriously hit by the consequences of global warming. The Royal Society's video just seemed too casual to me, and it did not feel as though it was discussing a very urgent crisis, but more that it was just rehashing the same information that we have heard about climate change for years. In conclusion, I think that it was very interesting to explore the different ways in which climate change has been reported to the public. I think that now is the time for public service announcements to be focused on the potential environmental consequences of our actions rather than being focused solely on purely surface level information.